Side Part. It's like a book club with your best friend, but make it a podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Side Part. I'm Nikki, your bookish bestie, and oh my goodness, it has been a minute since I recorded an episode, but I'm so excited to share a little life update, kind of what I've been doing the last 8-9 months, and we're going to chat about The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. We're going to do chapters 1 through 20 today, but first, before we kind of dive into all of that, I want to emphasize the best way to support this podcast is one, subscribing to this channel, clicking that bell so you know when new episodes are posted, and then most importantly, just liking this episode and commenting, engaging, asking questions. I mean, anything that you can do engagement-wise with this video is going to help me tremendously. So if you could do that right now, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm going to be really transparent with you. I really wanted to start doing this podcast like really intentionally last summer, and it just didn't happen. So even though I've been gone for a while, it gave me ample time to think about, what do I want my podcast to look like? What do I want it to feel like? And I really just, at the end of the day, want it to feel like you're just chatting with your best friend at a book club. I want it to feel like you're just hanging out with me each week. We're just yapping about books, yapping about life. And I feel like that's what I've been craving as a mom of 3 little kids, and just feeling like, gosh, friendships, social lives are just like really unobtainable for me right now. And partially because like my batteries are already so low. The last thing I want to do is get out of the house and do something else on top of all the things that I have to do. So I want you to feel like you have a friend you can just tune in whenever it's convenient for you. But I want you to know I'm a real person. I'm here. I respond to comments. I'm always in my DMs on Instagram. And honestly, I just love the connections. And that's what has truly brought me so much happiness in this space, is like the genuine conversations and the friendships I've made. And I wanted more of a long form way to connect with you guys. And when I tried to do this initially, I just don't know if I really had that identity piece. So I'm super excited that even though I've taken quite a bit of time off, it's given me time to reflect on like what Side Part really is. And so I think I've kind of landed on exactly what each episode's going to look like. So we're going to start off with like a side chat. You know, when you're at a book club and you have like those like really rich, fun conversations with your friends on the side, and you're catching up on life and just like things that are happening, current events, like it could be literally anything. But when you leave book club, like those are the things, at least for me, that really filled me up, or those little side conversations, side chats. So we're gonna have a side chat segment at the start of every episode. And then we're gonna move into the book chat segment. And so think about that like when you know, you kind of have that leader in a book club that's, all right guys, like let's lock in, let's actually talk about the book. That's what the book chat's gonna be. So I'm gonna lock in and we're gonna actually talk about what we were supposed to read. This is no way going to be like a deep dive podcast. It's more whatever I highlighted on my Kindle while I was reading at 2 a.m. while nursing my baby. That's what we're going to talk about. So sometimes it might be something like, wow, like profound theories I have. It could just be like, ew, that gave me the ick. I mean, it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but it's going to be very casual feeling. It's going to feel like a book club where you're just talking about random things that really came out of the book for you. Now I'm going to try to stick to, oh my gosh, can't talk. I'm going to try to stick to the chapters that I've indicated per episode. So today is going to be really about The Road of Bones, chapters 1 through 20 specifically. But as I move through the book, there'll be spoilers for anything from the beginning of the book onwards, up to the chapter that I indicated. There won't be spoilers past that chapter. Okay, so like, wow, a lot's happened since I last chatted with you guys. I know when I was recording episodes over the summer, SJM announced that she was drafting ACOTAR 6, but nowhere in my wildest dreams did I think we were going to get ACOTAR 6 and 7. That's going to be 3 books, but 1 story. Actually, I have no idea what that means, but I'm here for it. I'm excited. And on top of that, Rebecca Yarros announced she's writing the Empyrean. You know, when she initially said she was going to take some time off, I was like, what does that mean for the series? Like, I kind of had this feeling she was getting really burned out and just needed to do other things. And I thought it was going to take a long time for her to want to dive back in. But she just announced she's already drafting book 4, and I'm so excited for that. It kind of feels like a little bit like divine intervention, like all these really big bookish things are happening. And I was like, I feel like my podcast is calling me. I feel like it's time to come back. And it feels really good. And I'm so excited for all these bookish things to be happening. I have not decided if I'm going to cover like some of the bigger releases as they are coming out. I don't know if I'll do ACOTAR like 6, 7 when they release, but I will leave it kind of up to you guys. The more you kind of comment and ask for things, let's just say I'm easily swayed. So let me know. But one of the most beautiful things that have happened over the course of like the last 8 months is I'm reading so much again. Reading's bringing me joy again. And I think sometimes we get really stuck just as people with like turning hobbies into like a job. Suddenly things that bring you joy are now like weighing you down, and you feel like this habit you have to keep up, and it's exhausting. It's honestly so exhausting. And my goodness, well, I will get to my postpartum journey in a little bit, but I'm actually like exercising. And when I say exercising, I mean like just like walking at least like 20 minutes a day. I'm sleeping so much better. I'm drinking water and eating food I'm actually cooking and not going through a drive-through for, which there's nothing wrong with that. We still love a Happy Meal in this house, but it's crazy that it actually makes a difference. I feel like for those of you who are newer and are just tuning in, I had a baby last April, so we're coming up on the 1 year mark. When this episode comes out, it'll actually have been 1 year. I'll be officially 1 year postpartum. But when I initially started trying to record this podcast, it must have been like May or June of last year. I think I just wanted postpartum to be done, and I was like, I'm good. I'm going to start doing all the things I did before, and I'm good. I don't have to move through this season. I've done it before. I'm good at it. And wow, I was so wrong. I feel like postpartum has like phases, like where you feel like you've been through the worst of it. But now that I'm coming up on a year, I realize, my goodness, the only way out is through, and you have to move through all those difficult moments, and they go by so fast, but they also feel like forever when you're in them. And I think last summer I was at like the peak. So if you like kind of envision a mountain range, like I was at the peak, but I was at the peak of like one of the smallest mountains, and I still had to hike the entire mountain range, right? And so I'm on this summit and I'm like, wow, I'm done. And then kind of like the camera panned out and I'm like, oh, I'm not even close. And I just kind of shut it all down because I was like, this isn't even what I want this to look like right now. I want to show up. I don't believe in having to show up perfect, but there is something about acknowledging that you have limited energy and you only have this capacity to do things so well at any given point in your life. And right now, I mean, it's just things are easier and I can actually do this the way I want to do it. And so I'm really excited about that. So let's move into the book chat segment of our podcast. When I say I love using the community to get input, I really do. And I put a question box on my Instagram and I said, what should I read? I don't know really where to start this podcast off. What series would make sense? And when I say dozens of you were like, you need to read The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. Like you all were unanimous. Like it was almost unanimous. I mean, there was other wonderful recommendations, but so many people said this series is phenomenal. So I said, let's do it. Why not? I had no intention of ever reading this book. I don't know why. I think the cover initially didn't like snag my attention. But nonetheless, I was really excited to read it. And when I tell you I was hooked from the first chapter, like once again, you all were right. Today we're going to cover chapters 1 through 20. And initially I thought I could do this like part 1, part 2, because the book is naturally divided into 2 parts. And I quickly realized that just wasn't going to be possible. There's so much to this book, and there's so many things I want to talk about, little things that happen, and I just really, I don't know. There's just a lot just in the first 20 chapters, so we're going to talk about it. I'm also recording episodes as I'm reading, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I have not read the whole book. I've literally only read the first 20 chapters. So all my thoughts, all my theories are based off of the 20 chapters I have read. So obviously there'll be like spoilers for the entire 20 chapters. I'm just going to kind of talk about them as a whole. I'll jump back and forth. It'll be a little chaotic, but I think the way I've structured it makes sense. I'm also really bad at pronouncing names, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm going to do my best. I promise I'll do my best. And feel free to correct me in the comments. Also okay with that. I love to learn. I called Rysand Rice for a very long time, and I'm not proud of that. But as soon as I learned it was Reese, I changed immediately. So there you go. Before we dive into like the book chat, like getting into the meat and potatoes of the story, I think it's helpful to just lay out a character list of who's involved, like who are the major players of the story. So obviously we have Scylla. She has a POV. She's the female main character. And then we have the Blood Axe crew who Scylla is traveling with, right? By the end of chapter 20, they're kind of like this little band going down the road of bones. So in the Blood Axe crew, there's Ray, Axe Eyes, who's the leader. He has his own POV. We have Jonas, the wolf, who has a POV as well. We have Hekla, the rib smasher, Gunnar, the fire fist, Elias, Snowbeard, and Sigrun. Now, they're like their little band that has begrudgingly taking Scylla into their group to travel to the next town. Scylla has kind of tried to win them over with her cooking abilities and is using anything and everything she can to try to like convince them to get her further than just the next town that they're traveling to. And then lastly, we have Skreda, who is a hunter warrior for the queen, and she has a POV as well. Some honorable mentions, I think, are the Claymore, who are honestly creepy AF. They're like they're King Ivar's, also honorable mention. His little like warriors that he like modifies somehow. I don't know, every time they mention them so far in the story, they just seem like, to me, they're like these big, burly, dead-eyed people. The queen also sounds gorgeous, but she is also equally creepy, to me at least. All right, let's just take it from the top. I was blown away by the imagery in this book from like the very beginning. I'm a big prose person, so anytime someone can really set the scene in a beautiful way, like, I just love it. I love it. Let me just read this little excerpt, if you will. A light breeze caressed Scylla's face and pulled a few chestnut coils from her tightly woven braid as she stepped along the path. For a gray day, it was pleasantly warm. The sun obscured the clouds, a wasp buzzed at her face, and she swatted it away. Birds twittered from the gardens of the homestead. It was almost peaceful for a moment, until the following toll of the bell, long and so loud, it set Scylla's teeth on edge. Like, I was there. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, I just knew instantly. I know right away if I'm gonna like a writer's writing style. I just know. I was really expecting this to be similar as A Curse Carved in Bone by Daniel L. Jensen. They're not the same at all. The vibes are vastly different. Aside from them both being Nordic fantasies, honestly, I really don't see any similarities. Even the FMCs, I feel like they're very, very different. We quickly learn, though, that the Galdra are magic wielding people. Like from the very beginning, there's like a stoning of this person who holds magic. And this is where we're kind of really introduced to the kind of the concept of magic, how it shows up in their society, how it's regarded in their society. King Ivar Ironheart. Why is that? That's a tongue twist. King Ivar Ironheart. That's really hard to say. Anyway, he kind of put this like decree: anyone who is Galdra is to be stoned to death. And here's the thing: we also quickly catch on that Scylla is special. We learn she doesn't really settle in any place. But aside from having like this creepy little like ghost girl companion, I don't think we have any idea what her powers are. We know she has a little scar by her eye. But, like, what's the deal with this little girl? She's so creepy. And I'm sure she's sweet, but, like, you're, like, as a reader, you're just starting to feel like, why are we not talking about this, like, a little bit more? I feel like the little girl pops out at the most random times and not consistently. Like, is she always there? I feel like she's always lurking there. But, like, there are scenes where she's not even mentioned. She doesn't say anything. And you're just, I don't know, your hackles are up about this. And we know something's up. But what, we don't know. I could have said that more eloquently. But nonetheless, the ghost girl creeps me out. Now, we also know she's lived a life on the run. She worships the old gods. Now, I don't know why every time this trope pops up where, like, the dad isn't really the dad and he's been hiding this secret, but he passes away before he can give her any answers. I don't know why. I just, like, I'm just like, oh, man, we're in for a long ride. like, you couldn't, like, give her a little bit more information. I mean, I get it, but every time this happens, I'm like, I know it's a plot device and it's an important plot device, but I'm like, all right, buckled in, let's go. We also know her dad's real name is Tomas. Okay, I have a theory, and this might not be real, and it could be kind of potentially really weird, but I have a theory. I think her adopted dad, we'll call him, is Ray's real dad from the Blood Axe crew. Now, she says this one line. So Ray, at one point, she lies about her name and he calls her out on it, and they're having this exchange where he's threatening to her. And she says, because it takes a small man to be ruled by fear and a large one to show mercy, anyone can see you are no small man. And Ray has this, like, visceral response in the chapter. And then again in chapter 17, Ray's reflecting on those words again. And he said, Ray, in his POV, says he knew these words. His own father had spoken them to him, to his brother Christian. The words had been like hearing a ghost. So either Tomas, Scylla's adoptive father, like, was connected to his father in some way, or are they potentially the same person? I might look really stupid as I do these book chats. I know we're probably going to get an answer to this eventually. There's a lot of foreshadowing going on here, but I'm like, make note of that, obviously. I feel like this is like a softball, but I've also been so off base before, so, like, keep that in mind. So we're just, like, left with, like, a lot of questions after Tomas, Scylla's dad, passes, or was unalived. I don't know exactly how to say this, but, like, why is Homegirl constantly eating scold leaves? We're gonna call it scold. We'll call him scold. Why is Homegirl constantly eating these scold leaves? Why? Is it a classic dad's trying to stifle her powers for her own protection trope? I mean, we've seen that time and time again. I just read a book, and I mean, a lot of times it's for, like, this reason they find very virtuous, and, like, I think it's a great plot device again, but you're just like, why is this dad, like, drugging his daughter? Like, this is bizarre. Okay. Also, what's with the scar? Why is that, like, such an identifier? This, like, crescent-shaped scar by her eye, where, like, you couldn't just, like, kind of tell her what's going on. We also know she's highly sought after by the queen. Why? I'm sure you guys probably have theories about this. Again, I read these stories at 2 a.m. and I don't always know what's happening, because I think some things that are obvious I miss. So let me know if it's just something obvious. Tell me what you think it is if you're reading this along with me. And then also, like, why can't these FMCs ever have access to, like, the full picture? And I just feel like the dad could have given her this information. Like, this is the thing that sometimes frustrates me with, like, fantasy books. It's like, I understand, like, these stories need to have something driving it, right? There needs to be, like, this mystery that needs to be unfolded. It makes for great storytelling. But sometimes, like, my rational brain's like, okay, you're on the run together, but, like, doesn't she deserve to know what's going on? Like, she seems as in the dark as we do. That's a little weird, right? Like, but anyway, it makes for great storytelling. So after, like, Scylla's, like, really traumatic event, she watches her dad just, like, get, like, slain by this, like, band, and we also find out her dad's, like, this fierce warrior when we really thought he was just, like, this, like, old guy. We start rolling into the additional POVs, and this is what threw me for a loop. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it. You see, like, this really pretty girl with curly brown hair, and you're like, cool, this is just gonna be, like, a story from her perspective. And then we start getting like all these other POVs. Now, one thing I'm not clear on. So before Skreda gets tasked to hunt Scylla, was she hunting the Blood Axe crew? Because she's looking at the dark-haired man with his hair fastened at the nape of his neck or the crown of his head. Actually, now I can't remember that detail. But anyway, and she's like waiting for him to meet up with the 3 other men he usually meets with, which would make sense because there's 4 men in the Blood Axe crew. And she was diverted, obviously, because she got a new assignment. But was she hunting the Blood Axe crew? Why was she? And also, this didn't click till chapter 17. I don't know why when I was reading it, I just wasn't thinking of that. Again, this might be another one of those softball things that I'm overthinking, and everyone's like, yeah, obviously that's who she was scoping out. But anyway, so Scylla arrives to Rakefjord with the help of an egg dealer, disguising her as her niece. And so she's in this wagon and kind of squeaks by under Skreda's nose. Also heartbreaking. I really didn't have a strong attachment to the lady that helped her sneak into Rakefjord, but watching her get questioned and then seeing what happened to her, and that was I don't know, heartbreaking. And it also shows a lot into Skreda's character as well. But I digress. Sorry, I told you to be a little bit chaotic. Scylla stows away on the Blood Axe crew's wagon. Doesn't realize it's the Blood Axe crew, doesn't even know what the Blood Axe crew is, but nonetheless, she needs to get to Copa. She overhears them talking about them needing to take the Road of Bone, so she's like, cool, I'll just stow away here. And the Blood Axe crew's on a mission for Magnus to kind of seek out this mysterious mist with a heartbeat that killed the Clarenar, and they're on a mission essentially, and they're carrying some form of weapon, we find out, in their wagon. So obviously Scylla gets caught as a stowaway. She initially lies about her name. She breaks the trust of the crew, and that's the only thing that they care about. Here's the thing. I cannot figure out who the actual romantic interest is, right? I know there's this obvious romantic tension with Jonas. I don't know if I like it. I know he had that save the cat moment where he saved her from the war bandit criminals, and we're like, oh, he has goodness to him, right? And while we love that, I don't know, there's just these moments with Ray where I'm like, I think I like him. I want to pick him. Hear me out. So there's that moment where he's looking at her after she was obviously she got attacked by those men with her father, and he's examining her face. He settles on the bruise at her eye and her neck, and his fingers twitch, and I'm like, that's giving the hand flex from Mr. Darcy, right? And it's subtle, but you're like, he's impacted by this. But the best part was, so after the men attacked towards the end of this chapters, he said in his POV, and yet he was not settled. He was angry with her. She had not listened to his orders and had been hurt because of it. Because the Blood Axe crew hadn't been good enough. Because he hadn't. And that was the crux of it. And that was the crux of it. How could they do their job while taking care of this woman? I am probably reading into this, but I just feel like he almost just doesn't feel good enough for her. But there's this thing fighting with him. But there's this internal battle where I think he wants to be. And I think he's starting to care about her. I know she's terrified of him, but for some reason I like him better than Jonas. And maybe that makes my morals a bit questionable because he's obviously a very brutal person. Yeah, but whatever. You know what? We like a morally great man. We really do. If there's anything I know about Bookstagram is we don't like them perfect, but we like them yearning. You know what I mean? We like him yearning. I think he's yearning, right? The hand flex. Okay, anyway, his fingers twitch. I don't even know if it's called the hand flex, but anyway. Just, that's where I stand. I'm going to ship Ray, and I might regret that later, but that's where I'm at. Okay, the person I love the best so far in the story is Hecla. I love her. So far, she's my absolute favorite. Her prosthetic is actually giving like badass Wolverine, like with the claws and everything. I don't know if you're like, we're an X-Men fan back in, you know, the 90s, early 2000s, but she's awesome. She's probably one of my favorite characters so far. She's so unapologetically strong, but she's also soft, and I don't know, I just like adore her. I hate that Scylla's lying to her, and to an extent I understand Scylla having like that self-preservation, trying to keep this secret. I mean, her whole life has been dedicated to like ensuring her own safety, but does she even like know what she's lying about? Like, here's my thing, does she know why she's lying about her identity? Does she even know the stakes at hand? I don't think so. She seems kind of clueless, and to an extent her point of view feels very unreliable to me. Like, she feels very naive, and I think she's supposed to. I should say that. Like, I think it's supposed to feel that way, but that's how it feels. My favorite moment, I think, with Hecla is when she says, "You own your mistake, and for that, I will forgive you. But I caution you not to do it again." And you're like, dum, dum, dum. Like, it's gonna go bad. I mean, this poor woman, she's already, like, really abused her trust once when she let her believe that she had been also a victim of domestic violence. And now, you know, this is just not going to end well. You know, there's going to be some moment where like Hecla just feels so betrayed, and then there's going to be this long road to like earn her trust back. But nonetheless, so she rubbed water along the exposed skin of a residual limb, her face melting into something like relief. The water came into contact with the patchy, irritated skin surrounding the metal joint. And she says, "And we must teach you how to defend yourself. It troubles me that you cannot." And then I'm like, cue the training sequence. Let's go. I'm sorry. I love nothing more than a female main character training sequence. I love watching them come into their power, become like this badass. I don't know if Scylla's capable, but like, we'll see. We'll see. It's my favorite thing. It's my absolute favorite thing. And I'm here for it. Yes, let's go. So where are we leaving off? Let's talk about it. So obviously Scylla's terrified of Ray, so she tries to flee camp, but she's like, actually, I'm not gonna let him make me scared, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no weapons, and I probably won't survive, so like, I'm just gonna go back. And she comes back kind of like, you know, feeling a little bit more confident, a little bit more sure of herself. She decides she's gonna find a way to convince the crew to take her to Copa. She's like, I might make some real good like biscuits or something, and I'm going to get them to take me. Let's do it. That's my new mission. I'm going to get there safely. She's getting more headaches, and Ray's questioning why she's taking the skull. And he's like, that's like for fanatical people who want to feel closer to the gods. Like, why are you taking this like chronically? This seems a little weird. And I'm like, yes, it does seem weird. Like, can you actually answer him? Like, why are you drugging yourself every day? Obviously you're addicted. You crave it more and more. Anyway, also I blame her dad for that. I don't blame her, but nonetheless, I digress. There's also, we end on this tension-filled moment with Jonas in the forest, and I get it. Girl's got needs, whatever. Ew. I don't hate him. I respect him for wanting to get his family's estate back. I actually really enjoy the flashbacks that we have of him. But I just don't like him for Scylla. I just don't like it. And my mind can change. I'm easily swayed. But at the end of these chapters, we're walking back, Scylla and Jonas, back to camp in silence. And I guess that's all I have for now. I can't wait to dive into chapters 21 through 45 next week. Before you leave, please subscribe to this channel. It really helps support me, and it will help me to continue to do this and chat with you guys. Click on that bell, get alerted when I post a new episode, and most importantly, please engage with this video by liking, commenting, tell me all your thoughts, ask me questions, tell me what you want to read next. Literally, just put a smiley face. I don't care. Just any comment really helps. And lastly, have a wonderful week. Thanks so much for chatting with me.